Rich, this was a horrible idea to join the watch. We're on this wall freezing our balls off, man. Why'd we do this?
I don't know, man. This is miserable. But I did sneak these headphones in so we can listen to this Pod Bros exclusive.
Oh, I feel warmer already.
What's up, everybody? I'm Richard.
And I'm Shawn.
And we are speaking the language of bromance. And right now, Shawn, it is super cold. I feel cold.
Still cold, but you know what is heating up, Richard?
Tell me.
Television and Netflix and the Super Bowl.
Ooh,
dude,
yes.
So I'm more of a sports fan than you are. But
yes, I would agree with that.
The Super Bowl just happened, and everybody watched the Super Bowl. It's like 100 million people watch this thing. So, it's multiple things I like to watch. There's the game itself, which was really good this year, and then there's the commercials. And
the game was good.
It was a good game. And I heard rumblings of, you always hear rumblings of the movies that are going to be shown on here. And that always gets me excited because I love movie trailers, too. We did a draft about it. I loved it so much.
We did. And they had some kick-ass movie trailers. I was super pumped.
Saw Avengers, Jurassic Park.
Yes.
Skyscraper with Dwayne Johnson.
I was a bit disappointed with the Avengers because it was only 30 seconds?
Well, I mean, that's what all those commercials are because it's like $5 million. Hey, one thing I thought about, if we ever win the lottery, I'm going to put us a commercial on there. So be prepared for that. $5 million.
Be prepared for your
spent.
lottery win. It'll be 30 seconds of this. You know that, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And everybody be like, I don't get what it was. Was that a Tide commercial?
How do you advertise a podcast on television?
I don't know. We could probably do it, though.
Badly.
But I heard rumblings that there was going to be a new Cloverfield movie. And I heard I heard through the grapevines that they were they were basically in filming. And I was like, "Oh, that's great." And for some reason I thought I heard it was Netflix, but I felt like it was a fever dream.
Uh-huh.
And so we see the trailer for it during the game, Cloverfield Paradox.
Yes.
Netflix. I was like, "Oh, I wonder when that'll come out." Maybe in a couple weeks or a month or 2 or 3. Richard, right after the game ended, what did we see?
We watched Cloverfield Paradox.
Yeah.
And I thought that was, okay, you want to talk about fucking smart marketing? That's how you do it. You have this, I wouldn't call it a big budget movie, but a movie with some pull.
It was like a $40 million movie.
They threw some cash at it. But they put up an ad for something that the thing that got me is I didn't even know that. I knew that there was something, that there was going to be another Cloverfield related thing. I did not know that it was going to be on Netflix. So I see that and I was like, oh my God. And I was like, you can watch this right now. Yeah. And I was like, oh, I can.
When the game's over, go watch it.
And I was like, oh my God, I can watch this right now. You see a commercial for candy and then you're like, oh, that sounds so good.
Yeah,
and then you remember, then you're like, oh, I have a box of M&Ms that I left in the cupboard.
Yeah. Or you're like, oh my God, the grocery store is just 2 clicks away. I'm going to go and get me some M&Ms. I did that with Pringles.
Yeah.
There's a Pringles commercial oh my God, you can stack a barbecue pizza, or you can stack a pizza. You can have a pizza one, you can have a barbecue, you have a barbecue pizza. Then you could put a jalapeno one on it, and you have a spicy barbecue pizza. And I was like, oh,
yeah.
Why hasn't anybody thought of this?
I know. I saw that too and thought the same thing. I was like, why has that never occurred to me?
But then when I went and bought Pringles, I only bought pizza. I didn't buy the other ones.
And I remember why. It's because my fat ass, what I do is I just do the whole fucking can.
Yeah.
It's like a line of Coke. Can of Pringles.
Yeah. It's like you take out a handful, all right, I'll eat one of these at a time. Crunch. How many calories is that? Okay, let's see. 10 chips equals, wow, I just had 30 servings of these in one bite.
I just ate the whole can.
Well, I'm already halfway through it. Might as well finish.
And then I couldn't, and then I almost got my hand stuck in it, so I had to cut the can in half.
Yeah, that is the bad part. Like you try to get like so far down, and you got to tip it over, and then you spill more of them.
Yes, and then you go and you tip it into your mouth, but the can isn't. Here's what they need. Here's what a Pringles can needs. They need a little lip on the can, so that way when you go to tip it, then like it just pours right in. Because here's what happens invariably with me is I tip the can, and then the chip crumbs fall and then just land like on the sides of my face. And then I just look like an idiot that just dumped a can of chips on his head.
It's all over your shirt.
Yeah.
But you know what you do? You still eat the crumbs. You pick them out of your beard.
And then somebody looks at, and then the next person sitting next to you is like, you're fucking disgusting.
It's like, we have another can in there. It's like, no, this is the last one. I polished that one off earlier.
I can't do that. That's pizza. This is barbecue. What can I do? Mix barbecue and pizza. Oh my God.
Hey, babe, I need you to go down these stairs. Thump, 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 thump. $1 million idea. All mine. But no, like right away at the end of this, it's like, hey, you were ready to go to bed to go to work the next morning. Nope. You're staying up to watch Cloverfield, the Paradox.
Yeah, I was. I did. I stayed up. I had homework. I was supposed to do homework that night or that night. And instead, well, I did a little bit, but I also watched Cloverfield. I was like, I'll do this. I'll watch this and then I'll do it. I promise. But I promised myself.
But let's set the stage. So like this, like in 2008, it was like 1/17/08 or was it 1/17/08?
11/08 because it came out in November, right?
No, it came out in January.
Oh, okay. So it was, it was like 1/17/08.
When did it release? Yeah, 1/18/08.
1/18/08.
Because you had told me about like you saw this trailer either online or at a movie, and at that point all it was 1/18/08. Like it was just like crazy. Like, okay, what's going on here? Screaming, hollering, and 1/18/08. And you're like, oh, yeah. Like, what is this? Is this a Transformers movie? Because I think this was before Transformers came out. It's like,
it was like all shaky cam.
Yeah, like, is this a GoBots movie?
I've been waiting for the GoBots movie.
But nobody knew. And like there's this huge viral campaign. Like there's like websites all over the place. Like
there was really, websites.
Yeah.
It was Easter egg hunt. It was you like trolled the web, dude. It was like the Da Vinci Code, but with monsters.
Yeah. And then like you don't know what to expect. So did we go to this movie together?
I think so. Okay. Actually, I think we did.
I feel like we did.
Yeah.
You go and you watch it in a shaky cam. It was a really good story. I mean, it just kind of threw you into this group of people running around town. And this is going to be full of spoilers. This is kind of a review / like interesting topic on just how they've marketed this new movie.
Agreed.
And so like you go in and you watch it at shaky cam. The story's good. And like the whole time you're like, okay, what does this mean? What does this mean? Like, what does it all mean?
And then there was like with that viral marketing campaign, like there was something with like they created a drink.
Yeah,
it was like a drink company. Slusho. There was a drink company, and there was a website, and you could sign on to a mailing list, and then you get these like weird fucking emails that like had clues that led you to other places.
It'd be like it was like they put posts like every so often too. And like the post led up to like, oh, there was like an accidental drilling issue because they had like a drilling company.
Yeah.
And like
they were underwater. They were underwater. It was like a drilling company, and they were drilling, or no, it was an offshore platform, and they were drilling like into the ocean floor.
Yeah. Like, I don't know if it was for oil, but they said they were drilling for something.
Yeah.
And like they had pictures of like a diver down by their thing, like in like, oh my God, is that an eye? Is that a tentacle? Is it a ball sack? Is it a urethra? I don't know what it is.
Is it a urethra?
But like you go and you see that movie, it was a great movie, really, like for that kind of found footage type thing. And it cut like between like past and present, and the movie just ends, and you have no idea what's going on still. And
you did get to see the monster at the very end.
You do see the monster at the end, and actually, if you look at the poster, the movie poster in the clouds, the monsters in the clouds, which is pretty cool. But the whole time you just don't know what's going on. And I remember walking out of that and everybody's like, there's got to be a second one. If this does well, there has to be a second one. The budget on this movie was $25 million. The box office for this, Richard, did $171 million.
Damn.
So it made money. So this was 2008, and like I remember looking and looking and looking, like, when are they going to do the next one? When are they going to do the next one? Because this movie was the same thing. It was like very hidden, like nobody knew about it. Everybody kept asking J.J. Abrams, like, when are you going to do this next one? When are you going to do it? And it's like, I mean, it's in the works. It'll be soon. It got to the point, Richard, where I forgot all about it and basically wrote it off. Kind of like I did the new Game of Thrones book. Like, it's gone. It's out of my mind. And all of a sudden...
Oh, sad face.
All of a sudden, there's these rumors about, like, oh, hey, there's this new movie coming out with, oh, shit, what's his name? John Goodman. And
oh yeah, they also that movie also had its own like viral marketing campaign.
Well, I think that same website for the Slush Show, it like had a new post in like 2016.
Yeah, that one got even crazier because I think at one point somebody figured out, because the John Goodman's character or whatever had a bunch of I think they were Instagram posts, and somebody was like followed the Instagram posts and deciphered something on them and led them to like a field, like actually gave them like coordinates.
Nice.
And so they went out in this field and fucking dug a hole
and found John Goodman's body. Oh God, I gotta call 911.
Dan Connor's a robot.
And J.J. Abrams standing there with a polar bear. Like, I see you finished
and a
the
smoke
game.
monster.
It's like, oh
no, okay, but they dug up. It was like they dug a hole and they found this like fucking like lunchbox thing with all these like goodies and like pictures and shit like that.
Nice. Did they post them online?
Yeah, there's a YouTube video of them going out and finding it.
I mean, I don't remember any other movies really pushing like they did for these.
Yeah, I loved it. I thought it was. I was like, that's. I think in the digital age, I think that was just awesome fucking marketing.
Well, and 2008 was early on for that too. I mean,
it was so early on
because it was shortly after that. Didn't Dark Knight start doing a lot of stuff with that?
A little bit, yeah.
Because Dark Knight came out in about 2008, so about the same time. But yeah, I kind of wrote it off, and then all of a sudden, like with 10 Cloverfield Lane, I'm pretty sure I was in a movie theater, and I'm like, whenever I have downtime, I'm on YouTube and I'm looking for the newest trailers. Like, even if it's stupid, I'll watch it because I just love movie trailers.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't see this one until I went to a movie. I don't remember what movie it was in the front of, but it was just like, hey, here's this movie, blah, blah, blah. It's got John Goodman in it. I'm like, oh, this looks creepy as fuck. And it's like, 10 Cloverfield Lane. I'm like, oh, it's got Cloverfield in it.
Oh my God.
I'm like, when's this going to come out? Summertime? It's like next month, bitches.
And you're like, oh, what?
Yeah. I'm like, I'm buying my ticket now. But that, I mean, it seemed like this one dropped like, here's the trailer for it. And then like 2 months later, it's out. And it tied a little bit into the Cloverfield like mythology. It was just a good movie in general. Like John Goodman he's probably like, if I want to rank my tier of actors, he's up there.
He's so up there. God, I don't know what it is about the way he plays characters, but dude, it's fucking gold.
I'm actually excited for the new Roseanne.
I am too.
I mean,
I am, and it's because of him.
Yeah,
that's
But yeah, so 10 Cloverfield Lane comes out, and you're kind of like it again. It was kind of one of those where I was expecting like some more of the mythology, even though people are like, it's not. It's got the name in it, but it's not really tied into the original.
Right. They were saying that like that 10 Cloverfield Lane is like juxtaposed.
Yeah.
To Cloverfield. It's similar to it, but it's not part of it. I think is the way it was explained to me.
Yeah, and that's the way I kind of heard it too.
Cloverfield in and of itself, I mean, you're right. Yeah, it was a shaky cam movie. They threw in a lot of stuff like, yeah, you did get a monster. And I think it's an interesting concept. It's a cool concept. Hey, let's do a monster movie, but do it from like almost a first person perspective.
Yeah.
Like that's kind of like Yeah, it's at very least it's a fucking original idea.
Well, it's pretty cool too, because that was really like today. Like you imagine, like if they made Cloverfield today, like everybody has cell phones, so you would have a lot of those you could kind of put together. Like back then, there wasn't as much of that.
Yeah, it was all on a camcorder.
Yeah, yeah. Which kids today is like, what's a camcorder?
Yeah, and then you're like, oh, you son of a bitch.
But I mean, you had these two movies, and again, after that Cloverfield Lane, I'm like, okay, like they're talking like there's going to be a third one, but I kind of doubt it. And even if it is, it's going to be like, another 8 years from now. But fuck, Richard, at the Super Bowl, we get a trailer for it on Netflix, and then we get it the day of the Super Bowl.
Yeah, day of.
And that's
fucking crazy. They're like, hey, you want to see this movie? I'm like, yeah, I want to see this movie. Well, go to Netflix and you can watch it right this very second. I'm like,
Yeah.
I can.
And I wonder, and so I guess I don't know if you want to talk about the movie first or kind of the marketing side of it. What would you rather talk about first?
I don't know much of the marketing side of it, so you're gonna have to walk me through that.
Well, I'm saying there isn't much. It's mostly the Super Bowl tactic. Like basically,
I think that's fucking genius. I think that was a masterstroke on the part of Netflix to say, because like Netflix's big thing is, hey, we're creating a lot of content, instead of waiting for it, let's just drop a movie and be like, hey, you want to watch this? Does this look cool? Go watch it. We just put it on there today, so you can watch it right now. And I think in a landscape where we've kind of developed a sense of not really so much a sense of instant gratification, but a sense of
we want it now. We want things. Now.
We want it now. We're all just content eating machines.
Yeah.
Like, give us this. I mean, that's why, we were always happy when, Netflix came out with a series and we're like, hey, instead of watching episodes week to week, here's the entire fucking season and just watch it until your eyeballs fall out of your fucking head. And you're like, okay. And you did it and you still do it.
Yeah.
And you love it.
Which it kind of grew organically because it was basically like there's TV shows out there like Supernatural and stuff like that people are like, listen, I don't want to watch this week to week. I'll wait till it comes out on Netflix. And Netflix is like, oh, that's a really good idea. Let's produce our own content and just drop it all at once.
Yeah, just here you go. Badoosh. Like a big fucking Netflix dick. Here's Daredevil. The entire... here's 10 episodes at once. Badoof.
Oh, there goes my weekend.
Oh. Yeah. And you'd say that. And you'd waste that entire weekend.
What I find interesting, Richard, so just looking at budgets on these. So Cloverfield was $25 million. 10 Cloverfield Lane was $15 million. And the Cloverfield Paradox was $45 million.
That's the thing that I was the most surprised by is how the fuck do you make a $45 million movie and then just not tell anybody until the Super Bowl, and then all of a sudden just be like, hey, we just made this, little thing. Well, only cost us $45 million.
I don't know. Like, it seems like J.J. Abrams and whoever he works with, like, you have to, he must know some secrets because
he makes him swear like blood oaths.
Yeah. Because Cloverfield was like that. Like, it was named something else and nobody knew what it was. 10 Cloverfield Lane was the same way. They named it some other kind of movie. And this one had been like codenamed God Particle. And they've been working on this since 2012.
Ah, exactly.
And
I mean, you got to think though. I mean, this is the guy that was like the co-creator of Lost.
Well, so it's probably just has no idea what's going on. He's making it up as he goes. It's like, all right, what do you got for season 3, JJ? Polar bears.
Did you just see a picture of a polar bear?
No, I was looking at the globe and I saw the polar ice caps. And then I remember that your nickname was Bear. And so polar bears seem fitting. How are polar bears going to be on the island, JJ? Well, you're just going to have to watch. See, you're intrigued now, aren't you?
It's a tropical island. How are polar bears going to be on the island? Well, you're interested. All right, I'm interested.
When are you going to tell us? Season 8. Damn it.
Fuck. He got me.
Yeah.
Got me again.
It's like, and everybody's using that. Like The Walking Dead does that now. It's like, oh my God, what happened to so-and-so? Well, you have to find out next season.
Yeah. Game of Thrones. They're like, hey, you got dragons and White Walkers eventually.
Yeah.
They're going to do stuff, and it's going to be awesome at some point.
At least that one's coming to an end. Like
It is. It's finally happening. Like the thing you've been waiting for fucking 7 goddamn years. I said that the very first episode of Game of Thrones I ever saw was the finale of season 1, where Daenerys, like the dragon eggs hatch and she has her baby dragons, right? And so everybody was always telling me, like, dude, fucking dragons and White Walkers, wouldn't it be awesome? You see dragons fighting fucking an army of the dead. I'd be like, oh my God, that would be amazing. And they're like, oh, it's coming. And you're like, oh, when is it gonna come? When's it gonna be here? I can't wait. And like, oh, just hold on.
When you look back, it's like when you were 25 and now you're 33.
Fucking 6 years later, you're like, oh, fucking this is the thing I've wanted.
So let's talk a little bit about the Cloverfield Paradox, the movie itself. So,
okay, let's do that.
I mean, it wasn't a bad movie. I mean, if it was just its own movie, I think it'd be fine. Just like how 10 Cloverfield Lane, as its own movie, is good.
You know what? No, I think I kind of disagree with you on that point. But go ahead and finish, and I'll tell you why.
So, I mean, like it was a sci-fi movie. I don't remember when the actual particle accelerator was happening. That was like in 2008, wasn't it?
Fuck if I remember. Oh, I don't goddamn know.
I remember them talking about that years ago. Like it was like, oh my God, this will create a black hole and suck the world away.
Oh, you mean like in real life?
Yeah,
I thought you were talking about like in the movie universe.
No.
It was when they built the Large Hadron Collider in when CERN built theirs. And yeah, I think you're right. I think it was like 2008 when they finished.
So, I mean, this is kind of topical. I mean, it kind of ties into that where it's like, oh my God, science will destroy the world. And that's what happens here. I mean, they basically go through this interdimensional portal, which to me feels kind of like a cop-out to tie this into the universe of Cloverfield. But, I mean, just in a movie as general, it's like, okay, well, there's a situation, there's, energy issues, and they're going to do this thing, and, they've basically tapped into science that they don't know.
Right. And you know what? Okay, so at that point, like I'm okay. Yeah. I'm like, okay, that makes sense, energy crisis, a lot of people in the world, it's only getting bigger, resources are getting scarce. Mm-hmm. Yeah, okay. Let's build a particle accelerator and test it out in space because, using a particle accelerator can be kind of scary, so let's do it in space. Yeah. Look at the Ghostbusters. They were like, oh, fucking particle accelerator strapped to your back.
Don't cross the beams.
Yeah, don't cross the streams. It would be bad.
Unless you're fighting that one chick with the 2 dogs, then cross the beams once.
Or a giant monster made out of marshmallows.
If you threw like graham crackers at it, like chocolate, it'd be like the world's
after
best
you
s'more.
Roasted it.
Yeah. Would you feel bad like if his head was still there? He's like, and you're like, oh my God. Marshmallow Man, your arm is amazing. Stop eating me.
It hurts. I feel pain. Why?
You're all animals.
You're fucking Nazis.
But I mean, I dug the movie itself, but I mean, it's one of those things that I like that Netflix can just put this stuff out there.
Yes, that I am super happy about and jazzed about. Like I would love to see more of this.
Yeah,
where I don't know about something.
Oh yeah,
and then all of a sudden it gets like thrust upon you. Like, hey, here's something that sounds kind of cool. Guess what? Instant gratification. Yeah. Go watch it.
But what I like this is a very kind of cult type movie. I mean, even though the first 2 did really well.
Yeah.
My thought with like when this came out on the third one, it was like, oh, well, the studio didn't want to make this, which I don't know why they wouldn't want to. Like the other 2 made bank, but it took so long to make the second one. That's like, you could see studios be like, yeah, we don't really want to make this movie.
Yeah.
But my concern is that J.J. Abrams didn't have this 3-movie idea in his head. This was one of those things that's like, oh, well, Cloverfield is kind of a known name. Let's throw this on a movie. loosely tie it into this universe and then get a bunch of eyeballs on it.
Right. I think that was kind of the case with the second one. Like that's how I felt.
Yeah, I could see that.
Because, you know, the second one to me was kind of a thriller movie, you know, like chick and a dude, and they're in this fucking bunker, and you know, John Goodman's being creepy, or is he being creepy?
Yeah. He's like, "Hey, there's shit outside." You're like, "Well, is there shit outside?" Or
and then you're like, maybe there is shit outside.
Yeah. And some chick
maybe there is something going on. Maybe he's not crazy.
Yeah.
No, he's crazy.
Yeah, he's crazy. Shoots that dude in the head.
Yeah. Okay.
Never go full John Goodman.
Okay, so let's take the whole Cloverfield title out of this one, out of this newer one. And let's just call it, for right now, let's call it The Paradox, okay? Okay. So I had issues with this movie. And I also had issues with it when you put the Cloverfield thing back on it, but right now let's just, if we're calling it The Paradox, let's talk about what my problems with this movie were. I felt like the plot had some holes.
Yeah, I could see that. Like
I was sitting there with I was asking questions out loud to, you know, I was in a room by myself, but I was asking questions out loud while I was watching it. For example, okay, so they use this particle accelerator and they travel to a alternate reality, an alternate universe. Accidentally, they travel to an alternate universe. And not just that, but they also are in a different like location.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then meanwhile, in their universe, monsters show up.
Yes.
Okay. How are those things connected?
Well, I know when the doctor was on there earlier, he had mentioned something about this, what do you call it? Oh, what the fuck did he call his?
See, my thing was like, if it's a particle accelerator that like accidentally opens some sort of door, then wouldn't the things come out through the door? Yeah. And also wouldn't if it's a door to one reality, then why didn't this space station get transported to the reality where these monsters existed?
Yeah, I think the way that doctor explained it, I think he just called it the paradox, but his thing when he says like it would cause just a complete disruption. Like it not just in this world, but other worlds. So I think it was the idea that this thing would just kind of be like a big shotgun blast that would like grab things and throw them into other dimensions and other worlds just kind of randomly.
So it basically you're saying it creates like a hodgepodge of dimensional rifts. Not
really like a doorway like you would think, but just kind of like, yeah, just grabbing and throwing.
Right. Okay. So that's the way I kind of understood it as well. Okay. So if that's the case, if it's this hodgepodge where there's, you know, different realities are blending together, then how is it that they are able to specifically get back to theirs?
That one is a little bit of a disbelief you have to put, because yeah, if they do it again, like how do you know where they're going to end up? Like they could end up in like a sixth different dimension.
Right. They end up in the dimension where they're all wearing funny hats.
Yeah.
It's exactly like their dimension. They just all wear funny hats.
The only thing
or the dimension where somebody has 3 nipples.
What's weird about that?
Well, in some cultures, it's seen as a bit odd.
My mom said that when you have 3 nipples, it's like
Shawn. It's not a third nipple. It's a penis.
Let's see.
I don't care what your mom said.
The thing I did think it was kind of cool though is when they went to this alternate dimension. It doesn't seem like they were. Oh, I wonder. Actually, I don't know now, but it seemed like they had like taken over the dimensions of themselves. So like the ship that they went into, like they took over the people that were them there. And that's why the Chinese girl was still there, and the Hamilton, not Hamilton, whatever the other girl's name was.
No, you're right. I think it was Hamilton. That was like her last name.
No, who's the Jensen? So like Jensen and
the blonde.
Yeah, Jensen and Tam were the only two that weren't in the other dimension. Like they were kind of flip flop spots. So like when Hamilton went into this other dimension, she had like taken over Hamilton, I guess, in a way. So I kind
Okay.
of wonder if the Hamilton on that Earth had disappeared, like she had gone away too.
Oh.
Because as you're
Well, I
looking at
don't
the
know.
ship, they showed that picture, and Jensen was in the picture, not Tam. So it's like they
Well,
came
no,
on.
that can't be, because then at the end of the movie, then she sends a message to herself in that dimension.
Maybe if she left, she came back somehow. I don't.
Uh,
It's like polar bears on an island. You're just kind of like, it's there.
Yep. But yeah, like that was that was one of my things. They're like, okay, so we opened up a door to a different reality, but monsters. So then you go from that to saying, oh well, if we just fire this thing back up, then it's just going to reverse everything. I'm like, how does that work?
Yeah, just magically jump back into the one.
Like exactly where you left off. Like, was this reverse time?
Yeah, I don't know.
Exactly.
But
well, no, I mean, no, it doesn't reverse time, but like, okay, it's like you said, like, let's say hypothetically it's a shotgun blast. So it, peppers all these different realities kind of
at
where
random.
they're able
It's
to
completely at random.
exactly where they're able to kind of bleed into each other. So they're saying, oh, well, if we just do it again, then everything will be back to normal, or we'll get back to our world. I'm like, that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, and I thought it was a little cliche that Jensen, the person, the other tech op, ends up being. She didn't. I hate it, but I like it because she really wasn't being a bad guy. She was trying to save her Earth.
Bullshit. That's a trope thing. That was a whole trope thing. It's just like, oh, we need to put a bad guy on the ship.
No, it was.
Let's
tropey,
do it this way.
It was one of those things that she wasn't doing it to be malicious. Like, she wasn't doing it to get money. She wasn't doing it to be like, ruler of Earth. She was like, listen, if you guys leave and I don't have this thing now, like, my Earth is still doomed because they're in all these kind of wars on her Earth. And if she even took all the plans that she had to her Earth, like, nobody's working together. So it's not going to happen. Like, nobody's going to come together to build this in her Earth because it's just all out war.
I mean, yeah. I mean that's kind of a that's kind of a maybe issue. I mean, she might be right, but she might not be right. And also, so speaking of speaking of the Earth where everybody's at war, number one, Hamilton is like, oh, I want to go to this Earth because my kids are alive.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what? How does that make sense?
I don't know.
And when I say that, I mean in the sense of like, all of a sudden you're just gonna like show up to this other family and be like, oh, I'm mom.
Husband be down for it. Oh, now I just get turned down twice as much.
I felt like that
didn't make much sense to me either. I mean,
yeah.
Again, it's one of those things like, I mean, you have to kind of put yourself in their shoes. Like, think about like, in your world today, like her kids were gone. Like, she had accidentally killed her kids. And now you're in a world where they exist. I mean, it'd be hard for me to be like, oh, well, I'm just going to go back to my world where they're not there. I mean, it'd be really tempting to be like.
But at the same time, like, it's not like you're going to go down there and play Invasion of the Body Snatchers and just, all of a sudden, like, be like, oh, I'm mom number 2.
That's probably what you'd be thinking. I mean, I'd be dad number 2 in that situation. Like, I'd clean the house and make food and stuff.
You wouldn't. There is no way that would make sense to you. You're a logical person. You wouldn't sit there and go, what if I show up and the other person doesn't want me there?
But I mean, it's one of those things that, like, that's the only way you're going to get to see your kid.
I don't know, man.
I mean, it's
kind of thin.
I guess if like Shawn showed up at the door right now, I was like, hey, you remember that movie? I'm here.
I liked it.
I guess I'd be like suspicious. So, I mean, I'd be more the Shawn that's on that Earth would be more suspicious.
And then Tiffany's like, come on in. And you're like, wait a minute.
Now we just get it like a quarter of the time.
This is bullshit.
We have to split it up.
You know what it's like splitting it up? It's like splitting up half a cookie. I want to split half a cookie. I want at least half the cookie.
Half cookie's better than quarter of the cookie. That you only get a quarter of the time.
I'm hungry. Let's go get cookies.
Oh, that's actually a good point. It's like, hey, you want to go see a movie? I got Movie Pass. We can use it twice. Shit, what else was going on in this movie? But yeah, I mean, it was kind of that. It was very tropey. That's like, okay, I know she's gonna like. You knew what she was gonna do.
Right.
Jensen, that is. You knew she was gonna like mess everything up and try to stop it.
Yeah, because you need a human bad guy on the ship.
Yeah, I mean that's just how it works.
Yeah. Did you ever? Okay, so there was a movie done in the 90s called Event Horizon. Did you ever see this movie?
I don't think so.
It was
I
think it was a John Carpenter movie.
It sounds very familiar.
Who was in it? Lawrence Fishburne was in it. Sam Neill, who played Grant in Jurassic Park.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah.
He's a really good actor who gets chased by dinosaurs.
So this movie, Event Horizon, I really, really liked. Now let me explain what the plot of this movie is, Shawn. So Lawrence Fishburne's the captain of a ship, and he gets a mission to escort Sam Neill to another ship that had just appeared out of nowhere that everybody thought was lost. The name of this other ship is called the Event Horizon. Like, they thought they lost the ship. It was testing a faster than light drive.
Okay.
Or like an interdimensional drive, where basically it creates a rift and then goes through the rift to travel, huge distances in space. Kind of like makes a wormhole.
I gotcha.
Is essentially what it was doing. So in the movie, generates a wormhole and disappears, and then like 10 years later it comes back, and they haven't heard anything. Like, there's no response or anything from the ship. So Lawrence Fishburne and his crew are going to the Event Horizon to figure out what the fuck happened. Now, when they get on the ship, all of a sudden they find out that the ship is like possessed. Because
you have told me about this.
So because when it opened up the dimensional rift and traveled in and traveled to a different dimension that was like hell.
Mm-hmm.
And there were like demons and all this like crazy weird alien shit, like Cthulhu kind of fucking weird. And it basically, the ship became infused with that kind of energy, and then it came back, and like it's killing everybody on Lawrence Fishburne's crew.
Okay, that sounds very familiar to this. I mean, it's very similar.
Right. Exactly. Okay. But here's what I liked about Event Horizon, and here's what I didn't like about Cloverfield. In the Event Horizon, they're like, oh, this thing traveled to another dimension and became infused with this fucking malevolent power.
Yeah, things hitched a ride to it and got to our dimension. Back to our dimension.
Right. Okay. In Cloverfield, in the Cloverfield Paradox, they travel to a dimension, an alternate reality with no monsters, but all this weird shit is happening on the ship. Why couldn't we just put monsters on the ship?
Yeah. Like the little baby
Why not
ones?
just... Exactly. Like, why couldn't this just, all of a sudden, like, pop into a fucking crazy hell reality, and the ship's going nuts because of like weird aliens.
So it's kind of like Aliens in that movie Life. I don't know if you ever watched that movie with Ryan Reynolds.
So.
Just came out fairly recent. But
maybe.
So this is like, if I'm writing this movie, this is how I'd make Cloverfield Paradox work. Like, it's almost like the third of the series, but also kind of like a prequel. So what you do is the dimension they travel to is the dimension of 10 Cloverfield Lane. So that's where John Goodman's in, and like when they get here, like that's like where all the shit's like hitting the fan there.
Okay.
Now the whole alien thing on the ship happens, so they try to get back to their dimension where something hitches a ride. But like what you said is they don't understand what that means, and they travel to the dimension in the past of the original Cloverfield. And at the end of the original Cloverfield in the video, you see something fall from the sky into the ocean. That's their escape pod. So their escape pod is falling in with the alien thing that's hitched a ride that becomes the original Cloverfield.
Oh, okay.
Like, I thought that'd be kind of a cool way to tie all these together. Because I thought that's where they were going. But instead what they did is there's no aliens hitching a ride. They get back to their dimension just fine.
Yeah, There's no aliens on the ship.
No,
That's
yeah.
I think that was kind of like my big beef is you're gonna call something Cloverfield and there's no fucking monsters.
Yeah, you see a little bit of a shadow one with the with Hamilton's husband when he's like
Yes.
going and finding that girl, and like he got in that bunker, and I thought like, is that John Goodman's bunker? And it's not. It's just a bunker.
Yeah, I was kind of thinking that too.
Yeah.
Like all of a sudden they're in a bunker. I'm like, what? Wait, where? Why? Where'd the bunker fucking come from?
Yeah,
is that where he was going? I thought he was going to work, and now he's going to a bunker.
Yeah.
Where did he find a bunker?
Because he was going to the
He's in the middle of fucking New York.
Because he was going to the hospital, but they're like, "Hey, the hospital's overrun. Don't go here." And I think he said his friend's name was Jim. And so I paused the movie and I'm like, "Oh, well, what the fuck was John Goodman's character's name?" And it wasn't Jim. So I was like, "Oh, fuck." I don't know what this means then.
You're sitting there you're like desperately fucking trying to cling to threads to tie this thing together.
Yeah, instead of like, it should be like, this is the kind of movie and the kind of series you should have a board of pictures all over your room with like yarns tied together.
Yeah,
but
you're holding these three movies together with your bare hands.
But it's kind of like Lost. It just kind of like you tie a string, it just hangs because it doesn't go anywhere.
Yeah. I'm sitting there, I'm going, this dude lives in the middle of fucking New York City. Where is there a bunker?
Yeah.
Because I'll tell you what, if there's a bunker in New York City, I guarantee that there's somebody charging somebody else like $4,000 a month to live in it.
Probably, yeah. And then I don't even want to know what the after apocalypse rent's going to be.
Oh my God.
I don't have any currency. You have currency. Zip.
Oh. Aliens!
But instead what we get, Richard, is at the end of this movie, they get back to their dimension and they're in the escape pod coming back home. And her husband, Hamilton's husband, was like, "Tell him not to come because there's fucking monsters." And you see him fall. I'm like, "Oh, okay, like, is this going to be the end video scene?" Which wouldn't make sense because the monster's already there.
Right.
And you get the one shot of the big monster. It looked like the one from the original. I think it was.
I don't know. I don't know if it looked like the one from the original because the way it looked like it was almost like a gorilla kind of thing. Like I guess because all you're really, like in the shot, all you see is the head and the neck. But the way it's situated, it looks like it's about ready to go to shoulders that like come down into arms. But that monster in the first Cloverfield was like it like walked with its arms.
Like a praying mantis kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly.
But I mean, this monster was not like, because that one was big. It was like Statue of Liberty big. But that one was like above the clouds.
Right. This one was like fucking enormous.
Yeah, that's one of those, like, if it shows up, the world's gone. Like, what the fuck are you going to do to that?
Okay, and that's where I got angry, okay? Because that's where the whole movie is just like, hey, fuck you, we were going to do monsters, or we could have done monsters, but here's one at the end.
Yeah. Here's one at the end.
And I'm like, fuck you, Cloverfield.
Yeah, but it's funny, you see the little thing falling, and then, like, this monster, like, it disappears in it because the monster's ginormous.
Yeah. Did the monster eat it? I got the impression that the monster ate it.
I don't know if it, either way, they're dead because they're not landing in the water. They like hit this, monster and like bounce down, or it ate it and like a Tic Tac.
Yeah, if it ate it, they probably fucking survived.
Oh my god!
Like all of a sudden, that capsule's like going through the esophagus, and
oh man.
Then it's like that one movie where they shrink really small and then go through the human body.
Yeah, the Magic School Bus. There's an episode where they did it.
Yeah.
That's actually what the fourth Cloverfield will be, is like they land in there and there's like this world of eaten humans.
The Magic Cloverfield School Bus.
And they like walk out into the water and they see the Statue of Liberty and they just land in it and go, no!
You bastards, you did it!
Get your hands off them, you damn dirty apes.
Damn you, Cloverfield. Damn you to hell.
Man, that J.J. Abrams, he's a genius. Is he? Is he though? Like,
yeah, because like I said, I felt like the last 10 seconds was a big fuck you to the audience. Like, hey, you see this really cool, kick-ass, fucking ginormous ass monster? We could have put that in the movie. We could have put that in at any point in the movie. Guess what? Last 10 seconds. That's all you're gonna get. Bye.
That's what Cloverfield Lane did too. I mean,
yeah,
it's
they
did. This huge throw, and you're like, oh shit, like okay, maybe it is all real because she's running outside, she's not like dying, And then all
Yeah.
of a sudden, like, alien spaceship shows up.
Yeah. Pissed me off. That's where the last 10 seconds, that's where I got mad. Because if you're not gonna, I guess the reason what bothered me with this movie is without the Cloverfield title, it was just kind of a tropey, sci-fi movie where they pop into a different reality and, bad shit happens. Okay, that's fine. And then they pop back into, some people die, accidents happen, freak accidents happen, dude gets his arm cut off, but the arm's walking around.
That was weird, though,
whatever.
because it didn't really get cut off. He, like, got sucked into it.
Yeah.
Which I didn't really understand. Unless maybe it was like the universe is saying, hey, you're not supposed to be here. Which kind of adds a whole nother layer of, huh?
Right. And so let's go to that point. Okay. So one of the dudes, his arm gets sucked into the bulkhead and all of a sudden he loses it. Then later we find the arm, crawling around autonomously.
Yeah.
Okay. Then after they capture this arm and put it in basically like an aquarium, the arm indicates that it wants to write something down.
Yeah.
And it writes down, like
cut up
open
Volkov
up
or whatever his name was.
Yeah. The one dude that dies, they're like, oh, open him up. And then they open him up and they find this fucking thing that they've been looking for to figure out where the goddamn hell they're at. Okay. How the fuck did the arm know that?
I had no idea.
Exactly.
Like how?
When did the fucking severed arm turn into Captain Exposition?
Yeah. Well, and then
I know all the big plot points here. Just get me a Sharpie and I'll explain everything. It's a goddamn severed arm.
They call that the JJ arm. It's the one that came up with polar bears. It's like, well, what about these worms? What do we do with these? Just put them inside him.
Hurry up, somebody give this severed hand a fucking Sharpie, and it's like smoke monster, and you're like, what does that mean?
I don't know. Let's get 3 seasons out of it. But that was, so when she had that final, like Hamilton and Jensen had that fight, well, one, that gun should not have put a hole through those windows. Like, if that gun could put a hole through the windows to space, like, that's some shoddy craftsmanship. It should be able to hold a little bit more than that.
Plastic bullets and all.
Yeah, but then you see like the arm again. I was like, oh, that's going to be, it's some kind of saying in movies, like when you see the shotgun, the shotgun's going to get used. I can't remember what they call it. But you see the arm again as they're fighting. I'm like, oh, is the arm going to like fucking choke Jensen out?
That was my question.
Yeah, didn't matter. They did not need that scene or that little cut scene. Like you could have left that whole thing out. It's just like hey, remember that arm? Still there.
Yeah, there it is. Wave to it. It'll wave back. And then it'll maybe explain to you what the fuck is going on in this goddamn movie.
Give it a Sharpie. But so this gets me a little bit to my fear of Netflix doing these things. Like I was trying to say earlier, I will be excited. Like if there's movies that like the big studios are like, hey, you had a good one. I know you've got like 2 other ones in mind. We're not doing them. It just didn't do good enough.
Right.
And Netflix is like, oh, come here. Let's do those 2 other movies that you've envisioned doing to finish your movie set. Like I'm all for it. Like let's think about like I'm John Wick, huge John Wick fan, right?
Yeah.
It seems like they already had decent ideas for a 2 and a 3. So let's say after John Wick 1, it does okay, but they're like, yeah, we don't want to do this anymore. And Netflix comes along to those creators and like, hey, let's do 2 and 3. We'll do it with you. And so you get their actual vision.
Yeah.
I'm nervous that Netflix is going to be like, oh, hey, Cloverfield, hey, you got this script out there that with some tweaks, we can kind of make it seem like the universe. Let's throw Cloverfield on it.
Oh, I see. So you're afraid that they're going to incorporate like a, run-of-the-mill space station goes crazy movie and then slaps a different IP on it.
Yeah. So like it's,
I don't, you know what? Honestly, I can, I mean, obviously I'm not certain, but I could probably say that I don't think that was the case with this. I don't feel like this was a movie about a space station that pops into a different dimension and then they just slap the Cloverfield title on it. I didn't get that impression at all. I felt like this was it was so reminiscent of 10 Cloverfield Lane in the sense that you thought the movie was going to be one thing. It turns out to be a different thing, that's still kind of okay. Like, you're disappointed that it doesn't have to do with, aliens and monsters and shit. But you're like, oh, this is okay. And then at the very, very end, then it's like, oh, by the way, there was monsters.
Yeah, but that's very much kind of a J.J. Abrams thing. You leave things vague enough. Like, you mentioned 10 Cloverfield Lane. I don't think that was supposed to be a Cloverfield movie. Because they're not written by J.J. Abrams. So I think they're like, hey, this person came up with this script called, I don't remember what they were calling Cloverfield Lane. They had a name for it too. The Cellar. It was being developed as The Cellar.
Okay.
So somebody gets a hold of this, is like, hey, I'll produce The Cellar. It's like, wait a second, to make money, like, what do you need? You need like the audience to like relate to this somehow, to be like, oh, this makes me feel comfortable, I'm gonna go see it. If you call this The Cellar with John Goodman, people go see it, but not, $110 million worth of people are gonna go see it.
Yeah. Yeah.
You take a couple tweaks, you add a little bit here, slap the Cloverfield name on it, and guess what? $110 million.
Okay. Okay. In that case, yes, I see what you're saying. But in that instance, that's not on Netflix. That's on JJ.
Well, I mean, I Netflix could buy that movie. Could have bought whatever they're calling this, God Particle, as it was in development, or even after it was in development, and say, hey, let's throw this stuff on there and let's make it this. Because I mean, they do that all the time with studio stuff.
I mean, okay, yes, but I mean, when you're talking about, hey, let's take a movie, throw some tweaks in, and slap a Cloverfield label on it, that would have been JJ's call, not Netflix. Netflix wouldn't have been the one to say, oh, well, why don't you use some of that Cloverfield stuff that you have?
Well, I mean, it depends on how much of that $45 million went to JJ. He's like, this is my art. All right, we'll give you another $10 million. Okay, it's good. I had this vision all along. Those polar bears? Yeah, same thing.
Yeah.
Season 1, I knew about it.
Smoke monsters. I totally knew where this was going.
Yeah. Well, where did it go?
You'll find out.
I got an idea for Cloverfield 4. It's on an island. But I mean, that's what makes me nervous, because I mean, it was a $5 million Super Bowl ad. I don't know what the ad right after the Super Bowl would have cost, but it had to have been pretty expensive. So they're not going to just they're not going to throw out God Particle.
Okay, yes, but I mean, I would agree. I think that because it was, the Cloverfield Paradox, I think that's what made Netflix comfortable enough to say, yeah, let's do a 30-second ad on the Super Bowl and say you can watch it right now.
Yeah. And I don't know how successful that's going to be for them.
Well, I think it's going to be huge because the fact that they put out a commercial for a movie and said, you can watch this movie right this fucking second, I think that it kind of spun itself. Like, the marketing kind of, from that point, just because it was such a new novel concept of saying, hey, here's a commercial for a new thing. Hey, you can go watch this new thing right now. Like, the marketing of that kind of took a life of its own, because now, like, there's the 30-second ad, but then there's also 20 news stories about, hey, look at this thing that Netflix just did. They put out a trailer for a movie and then released it, 30 seconds later.
So I wonder, like, what would they have to get to make that money? That's the one thing I'm curious about Netflix. This is a $45 million investment. I don't think they're going to sell it as a Blu-ray or anything.
Okay. But consider this. My figures might not be exactly right, but from what I understand, over the course of the next year, Netflix has spent well over $1 billion developing shows and movies, developing, original content.
Yeah. And that's what makes me curious. I think they were actually losing money. if I like, they're not doing great. It's kind of like the Amazon thing.
They did up the subscription by like $2.
But still, I mean, I'm just curious, like, from this, like, 45 million, like, you already have people's money. Like, are you hoping to keep people? Like, and this would have been one of those things that if I didn't have Netflix, I would have got Netflix to watch this.
Yeah.
So I mean, do you hope for, what, 10,000 people to do that and to stick around? 20,000 people? Like, what's a success
Yeah.
out of this?
I mean, I don't know. I think it's hard to measure, because then you're talking about, like, about either you're trying to gain a new audience, which, I mean, fuck, it's Netflix. Like, everybody has it. So I think this is more about retaining that
Yeah,
audience.
I could see that. And I mean,
Because all these platforms are developing original content now. You look at Amazon Video, you look at Hulu, you look at HBO Go, like, they're all developing original content, and I think it's a fight for eyeballs, because, if you are subscribed to, 4 different services, if you have an HBO Go subscription, an Amazon Prime subscription, Netflix subscription, and a Hulu subscription, maybe things get a little lean for you for 3 months, and you say, I need to cut one of these out. I'll get rid of Netflix.
Yeah.
I haven't watched Netflix for a while. So I think you're right. I think it's about retaining subscribers rather than, it's one of those, got to spend money to make money. In this case, I think it's, you got to spend money to keep money.
Yeah, no, I could see that. I mean, like, they did Bright a few months ago. So if you're going to tell me from my Netflix account I get like 6 theater quality movies a year,
Right.
That seems
On top
worth
of and there's 6 original ideas. And not just that, I think the thing that Netflix does that seems really smart to me is it's its own internal marketing tool.
Yeah.
Netflix doesn't, unless it's something really major, unless it's something that they know people are going to see, you don't see billboards for shit. You don't see.
They've just recently started doing commercials. Like last Super Bowl, they did Stranger Things too.
Yeah,
pushing that.
Yeah, you don't see a lot of television commercials. You don't see, it's all, they kind of market within themselves.
Yeah,
they market inside their own app. So in terms of the money that they spend to produce these films, they really don't spend that much when it comes to trying to sell them, because they don't need to. It's on their thing. If they want to, if there's a movie they want people to notice and say, hey, you should watch this, they just fucking throw it in they throw it in prime placement in their algorithm.
Yeah.
Because it's theirs to fuck with.
Which this might have been one of that 45 million, maybe 10 million of it went to the budget of advertising. Because I'm sure both those ads cost at least 5 million a piece.
Yeah. I mean, you look at, and because of that, I feel, and this is where one thing that I really like about Netflix is you get movies that probably you get movies and television shows that probably you wouldn't see on other platforms.
Yeah.
Like Bright would never, if there wasn't a Netflix, Bright as a movie wouldn't exist.
That one,
Netflix is the reason.
With Will Smith,
Bright would not have made it to theaters.
I haven't seen it yet. Just from the trailer, it seems like it could. I mean, it's too original of an idea, so I could probably see that being one of the reasons to kill it.
Exactly,
but
it's not marketable enough.
Just because
it's not marketable in terms of, like, of a print ad campaign or a television ad campaign. It's not marketable enough just because to describe, like, hey, there's a world where there's orcs and elves, but it's like our world, but there's orcs.
It just takes more work because it doesn't have, like, the audience doesn't already kind of have an idea what it is.
Exactly, and the more work is what shies studios away from doing stuff like that.
Yeah, because it's more money for advertising.
It's more money for advertising, and also the fact that you have to explain it makes it harder to market. And when you're a studio executive and you're trying to make a fucking bottom line, you want to do as little work as possible.
Yeah, well, that's what makes me a little bit nervous about kind of tying back to, like, taking a movie that's out there, throwing the Cloverfield thing on it. Like the movie, The Shallows, the shark movie that came out a few years back.
Oh, yeah.
Like, that's a movie I could see Netflix picking up and calling it like Jaws 6. Like I don't think they could get the rights to Jaws, but basically taking
Right.
a movie that is already written, nothing to do with a franchise, and be like, hey, let's tweak this here. She's, the captain's, granddaughter or something like that. And she's a surfer and she's now being chased by a shark. It's still just the same kind of movie, but it's just got that little bit of tag and be like, oh, see, this is Jaws 6.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know.
I mean, it's still a good movie. Like I'm glad I saw it. I'm just a little upset that it doesn't seem like it was the vision of what Cloverfield should have been.
I wish it. I watched it and I got done, and I was like, that could have. I think I said this at the beginning, was like, I don't really see movies and go, oh my God, that was a terrible fucking movie. Like if I get done and it's a movie that I didn't really like, I sit and I think about the movie it could have been.
Yeah, that's kind of what I did.
And that's how I felt at the end of this. I was like, that could have been a much better movie.
Yeah, with my little tweaks that I mentioned, like, the dimension they went to was John Goodman's 10 Cloverfield Lane. Then when they go back, they actually go back to the dimension that was Cloverfield and started the whole Cloverfield thing.
Right.
Like, that kind of put a nice little bow on this Cloverfield story.
Especially, yeah, when you're talking about dimensions, then when you're talking about transferring dimensions, you can also talk about, traversing space, traversing time.
But yeah, that's the only thing that worries me, is like they're going to make these movies and just kind of like, same like you said, I don't know if they're rushing them maybe, but it's just the kind of thing like you're going to be like, oh, it could have been like so much more.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's budget or if that's time or if that's just, you instead of the studio like having these, trial run shows with audiences, that you just get the original idea. So
yeah,
I mean, it's better than nothing.
That is true. It was better than nothing. I did spend time,
and we only had to wait 2 years.
It.
2 years between Cloverfields. Last time we waited 8.
And like I said, I didn't even know that this. I think the fact that I didn't know made it all the better. It was like all of a sudden, it was like, it's the equivalent of finding like money in your pocket when you're doing laundry. Really, like, oh my God,
$20, sweet.
Awesome! I didn't know this. I didn't know this existed. Now it is. Now here it is, and it's mine.
Do you think this will be like a new Super Bowl tradition? Like how
maybe?
Awesome
and I'd be totally fine with that. That would be so great.
They're like, here we are. This is Apollo 14. It's like, yes. All right, Richard. Well, as we're getting off this spaceship and coming down to the planet full of monsters, what are your Richard's closing thoughts?
I would just say that I'm happy with the way Netflix put this out. I'm happy with the way that I'm happy with Netflix, not very happy with JJ. That's what I'll say.
I'd be curious to see.
I wish the movie would have been what this. I don't know. It sounds so fucking arrogant to be like, I wish this movie would have been what I wanted. But it kind of like, that's kind of how I feel. Like you could have done some other shit with this movie, and I think a lot of people would have liked it a lot more.
Yeah, JJ is just a producer on this too, which basically means that it could have just been a here you go credit. Like,
right?
He may not.
I mean, we say his name like he's the guy that fucking was like pulling all the strings.
He very realistically could not. I mean, he's got so much shit going on. He probably wasn't in the room. They're like, hey, here's a check for $10 million. He's like, oh, what for?
Right.
Oh, we're doing a Cloverfield movie.
Awesome.
Sweet. They're still doing
cool.
those.
That's cool.
I need to check my IMDb, see how many of these they did. I just thought we did one. John Goodman was in one of these? That's
Holy
amazing.
Shit. Somebody give me that tape. Do we still have tapes? We have tapes?
All right. Well, let me do a little bit of ship cleaning as we call this episode. Visit our website. We're at languageofbromance.com. Follow us on Twitter. We're at languageofbro. Email us at eatthebeaver@languageofbromance.com. Check out the LOB Army intelligence reports. Ian's got some short stories out there now that are super, super good.
They are. Very much so.
Like us on Facebook and go out and recruit somebody for the LOB Army, because we got to get this particle accelerator going by getting someone you know to subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Stitcher, and Spotify.
When you're there, you can go ahead and leave us a review and a rating. Netflix used to do that. I remember. It was nice. you can leave us a rating and a review, because those ratings and reviews are super, super helpful. And maybe eventually we'll get our own show on Netflix.
That's what I'm hoping. I keep sending them emails.
Cloverfield 4. Here we come.
Podcaster's delight.
Yeah, we'll call it Cloverfield 4 Finally Monsters.
And remember, you can always find us as part of the Pod Bros Network.
The paradoxical podcast site on the internet.
Yeah. And if you want to throw a little money in our tip jar to help us fund Cloverfield 4, because it takes $45 million, or if you want to pitch in for next year's Super Bowl commercial we want to do, go to our Patreon accounts, www.patreon.com/language of bromance. All right. Well, is there anything before I close her out?
No. And scene.
All right. Well, that's all the bromance we have for this show. I'm Shawn.
And I'm Richard.
And I say we eat the beaver. I mean, Richard, I don't understand why you just didn't throw fucking polar bears on this spaceship. Like,
oh, wait, it's the last 10 seconds of the episode. Here's a monster.
Scene.